right. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Business Hammer. Today, I've got Brian with me. Brian, I appreciate you joining.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm up in Waconia, Minnesota, which is just southwest of the Twin Cities here. And, I started a handyman business, Holland Handyman Services, a couple of years ago when COVID really first hit. And do a little bit of everything. I will tell you there are a few things that I will not do. I prefer to hire out guys for that. And one of them is tile and the other is paint.
There you go.
Both of them.
That's understandable. I can definitely agree with you on that. So you got started when?
Let's see. So this May will be my second anniversary.
Okay. And what pushed you into starting a handyman business?
So I was in school. We'll go back a little further. 2018, I got out of the Navy. When I got out, I moved up to Minnesota. I got a job working for a international company working on generators and chillers and stuff like that. And they had me working about 70, 80 hours a week and just picking up some ungodly heavy hose and cable and things like that. And it was breaking my body, to be honest with you. And I couldn't do it anymore. So I quit there. And then I decided I was going to go back to school and get my electrical engineering degree, which I finished a year of. But then towards the end of that year, COVID really hit. We did distance learning the whole last half of the second semester there.
Sure.
And then I was working part-time on private airplanes in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and had an internship lined up with an engineering firm designing buildings. Well, everything just came to a halt. After school, the part-time job got shut down. The internship got shut down. Everything got taken away. And I'm sitting there staring, looking at my wife, and I'm like, sweetie, I don't have any money. I have to figure out how to get us money. Now, granted, I married up. My wife makes way more money than I do. And we probably would have been fine for a few months, but I'm not the kind of guy that can just sit there and not contribute in any shape, form, or fashion. So I found this app on your phone called Handy. Have you heard of Handy?
I have not.
So Handy is in contract with like Lowe's and Walmart and Costco and places like that. So if you go into Lowe's and you buy a TV and you pay for installation, Lowe's will contact Handy and Handy will contact their pros that they have in that area.
Gotcha.
And you can get paid for things like that. So I was doing mostly like hanging TVs and garage door openers for a few months there, but I was making good money doing it. I mean, especially once people had to reschedule for whatever reason, then the payment for the job would go up. So they would call me for all the reschedules or if something needed to be redone because somebody messed it up. So I think there was one day I made like $2,300 doing 5 garage door openings.
Wow.
Which is just insane.
Yeah.
But it was still like a good 10-hour day because you got to drive to each location.
Sure.
So I mean, if I could do that all day, I would. Absolutely, 100% of the time. Garage door openers, $2,000 a day, sign me up.
Right.
So, but, there were other days where I would drive 2 hours to go do a $150 job, and I couldn't find anything else for that day. So it really just didn't make sense.
Sure.
So ultimately, that's how I got started because my wife, she said, Brian, you're doing this really well, but you're having to travel an hour and a half, 2 hours out to these handy jobs. Why don't we get on Facebook and find you something closer and you can start an LLC and get your contractor's license in Minnesota? And I'll be real honest with you, I was scared. I didn't know that much about the construction world. But when you're talking about the difference between building a house and fixing a house, it's two different things.
Sure.
So, I signed up for the Minnesota Contractors Study Course. It took me 3 months to study for it. I'll be real honest with you. It took me 2 months to dive into it because I was like, I don't know if I want to do
it. Sure.
So then we did, I finally got into it and studied and took the test, passed. Everything's great, wonderful. And ever since then, just haven't looked back. And now I have the knowledge to remove a load-bearing wall and put a steel beam in. Am I going to? Probably not. I got friends that have crews of guys that can do that. But if I have to, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. So you started off with Handy. So what are you doing now? Are you still getting leads from Handy, or how do you get the majority of your work?
So I'll be real honest, I use Handy a lot of the times to fill empty appointments.
Okay.
But my Facebook, as toxic and as evil and as corrupt as it is, it's one hell of a lead service.
Sure.
I mean, to join the different community pages that are around you, like because each town has a buy sell trade.
Yep.
Each town has just a general community page. Each town has, all these things, and people are like, "Hey, do you know anybody that can remove a wasp or a wasp nest?" Yes, I can. I can be out there, be done quick. Do you know anybody that can frame up a basement? Yeah, I'll come look at it. But my problem, and we talked about this earlier, my problem so far is I've hired and fired about 12 guys
Right.
since I started, and I've quit looking because I can't find anybody that's going to show up on time. I can't find anybody that's going to do the job the right way the first time. I can't find anybody that's going to stay until the job is done. And what I've learned is that nobody is going to care about your business as much as you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've been on job sites till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, slept in my truck, and went to the next job site.
Sure.
You can't ask an employee to do that. So
right.
You kind of have to. It's a huge balance. You have to set standards for your employee, and you have to set standards for yourself as well.
Sure. Absolutely. So how much were you paying your employees, just out of curiosity?
The best employee I had, and bless his heart, he's still a really good friend of mine. If I could have him, I would, but he won't let me. He's a full-time teacher, so he works for me in the summer.
Okay.
So he teaches second graders. Bless his heart.
Yeah, no joke.
And but I mean, this guy, he has taught me so much. I mean, he's an older gentleman. I say older. He's older than me. I'm only 31, or I'm fixed to be 31 in April, and he's 42, I believe. So he's taught me a lot about concrete work, about siding, fascia, all these things. So if I could have Austin full time, I would, 100% of the time. So Austin, I was paying $35 an hour.
Okay.
Which I feel like is really good pay, because Austin would show up,
Sure.
He would do the job to the best visibility, and he'd go home.
Yeah.
But if I'm hiring a high school kid off the street that's got to be in my hip pocket for the first 3 months,
yeah.
I'm gonna pay you $18 an hour.
Yeah, that's about similar to what we're doing at Flip Flop Handyman. Our highest paid guy is 35, and we start out about the same. So yeah, it's just it's tough finding the right people who will actually show up. I don't know anything about your area and how many people there are. There's more than enough people here in Corpus Christi. We've got almost 500,000 people, but it's still, with 500,000 people, it's just tough to find a handful of them that will actually show up when they say they're going to. So I definitely feel your pain there. So
yeah.
Other than Facebook groups, do you do any sort of advertising? Or it sounds like you can probably pull enough from that if you're the only one working. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I stay busy. I work as much or as little as I want to, but what I've learned is my wife sends me so many jobs. I would tell you, my wife set up a email service through our website.
Okay.
So she gets the email, she forwards it to me. I call the customer.
Sure.
So I get a few leads through that. And honestly, the best thing that I found is just word them out.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy came in my house and he did an excellent job. He was respectful. He was on time. His price was good. You need to call him. And I get that most of the time when I get random calls. That's what I hear, because I've had people come in my house and goof it up, and I don't want to be that guy for my customers.
Sure, absolutely. So, what kind of software, if any, do you use to keep track of customers and all that fun stuff?
That's probably the one place I'm lacking real hard. What I do have is I have an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
And at the end of a job, I will put what I spent on the job, what I was paid for the job, and my general profit for the job in the Excel spreadsheet. And that's strictly for my taxes.
Sure.
My buddy keeps telling me to get onto QuickBooks because it's so easy and great. And I'm sure it is, but I have an Excel spreadsheet for my invoices and for my estimates and things like that. So I write down all the information, usually just take notes on my phone.
Yeah.
Get to the house, and this is where I cheat a little bit. I take those notes and I text them to my wife. And I say, hey, baby, can you send this person an invoice or an estimate that says exactly this? She's like, yep, I got it. So
Sure.
she does that for me. But she's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. My wife and I have been working every day. That's her desk right behind me. We've been working together every day for almost 10 years. So yeah, she is definitely the one that pulls the majority of the weight with all the various businesses that we own. So I feel you.
I can tell you that is true love, because if I spent that much time with my wife, I love her to death, but I might have to.
Yeah, I don't know how she doesn't knock me out. I'm sure she's tempted on a fairly regular basis just to swing something backwards and hit me in the head when I'm not looking. But I don't know. It's easy for me. I don't know how she does it. It's rough for her. So
yeah.
Okay. So what do you charge per hour on average for the work that you're doing?
So another quick backstory. When I first started, I left so much money on the table.
Sure.
I was charging myself, just me, I was charging $35 an hour.
Wow. Yeah, you were leaving some money on the table.
Yes, I was. So I am now up to $75 an hour. And there's some people that get upset, and there's some people that are like, wow, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I was like, you can hire an electrician and he's going to charge you $75 just to show up.
Oh yeah. Here they charge you like 125 just to show up. I mean,
exactly. So and actually I don't charge an estimate / trip charge.
Sure.
What I do is I'll come out and I'll give you a free estimate, free of charge, no money at all whatsoever. But if you decide to go with me, it's $75 an hour for a minimum of 2 hours. So if you hire me to come in and hang up 3 picture frames, it's still going to be $150.
Yeah. That's our minimum as well. It's 150. Hang up one picture frame, it's $150. Or put a light bulb in. Like, sorry, we got to make money somehow.
And the reason I do that is because, I'm in my wife's car at the moment because I'm heading out to, I've got some time. I'm going to work on my ice house, but I've put 32,000 miles on a truck that I bought last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just got to pay for it.
Yeah. The 7th of January, I bought a 2009 Chevy Silverado, and I've put 32,000 miles on it since then.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming out to give you a free estimate and then we sign a contract and you decide you want me to work for you, I need compensation for the mileage and the gas, because I've essentially made 2 trips, potentially more, depending on what the project is.
Sure. Absolutely. I get it. And the clients who don't, what we basically tell them is, it sounds like we're not the handyman service for you. I mean, that's just the way we put it out there, and just say, if you can't find anybody else, you're welcome to call us back. No hard feelings, and we just walk away. But yeah, we run into that as well, for sure. So
I will tell you that one of the hardest things for me is firing clients, but at a certain point in time, you have to realize, like, you're not at the mercy of the customer. You can do what you're comfortable with and don't do what you're not comfortable with.
100%. Absolutely.
So I've seen a lot of guys get in trouble that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I haven't in this business, but I remember, gosh, back when I was coming out of college, I had a landscaping business, and wow, boy, did I get myself into some spots there that I was just too young to know that I could just walk away. I mean, I was early 20s and didn't realize I could just say, forget this. I'm not going to deal with it. So that's definitely a lesson I have learned over time. So what is something that you've struggled with, other than trying to find employees? What's something that you've struggled with inside the business?
Time management. It's a never ending story of, man, this project's taking a little bit longer, or you tear into a wall and it's like, crap, there's something behind there that I didn't anticipate. And now it's going to add 8 hours, but I've got an appointment this afternoon. So you either you call the customer that you have the appointment with, or you reschedule with the project you're on, leaving a hole in their wall.
Sure.
So you kind of pick the lesser of 2 evils.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one. Yeah. Especially in this business. Yeah. You just don't know what you're getting into a lot of times. I mean, it's not like it's every once in a while. It's often you just open something up and you're like, whoa, that was a can of worms. Can't put that back in.
So what I figured out was, what I've started doing is, anything that I can't fully see the entire scale of the problem, I schedule in my schedule for 2 days.
Gotcha.
And the reason I do that is because if I call you and I say, hey, Keith, I know we're scheduled for Thursday, but I've got some free time on Tuesday, and I think I can get your job done on that day. Are you free? You'll be a lot happier than if I have to call you and say, hey, I can't come out on Thursday.
Yeah.
Can I see you on Saturday?
Yep. Sure.
So
Absolutely.
if I can't see the full scale of the project from start to finish in my head, just from looking at it, then I schedule it for at least 2 days.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. So last question for you before I let you go. What is your best piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to get into handyman business or any home service business?
Oh, man. I've got a few there. Number one, have a wife that's really good with numbers or hire an accountant. I mean, you got to have somebody that's good with the numbers, because
Sure.
if you mess up your taxes, you're in trouble. Number two, make sure you know all the laws in your state.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, you can specialize in one thing, and you don't have to have a license. You have to register yourself, but you don't have to have a license. But if you are framing and finishing a basement, that's more than two specialties. You have to have a license.
Interesting.
Yes. So know the laws in your state, because if they catch you, that's a $10,000 fine and you're shut down for a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Not worth it.
Yep. So that, as well as overestimate the amount of time it's going to take for the project.
Yep.
Every time. Unless, if somebody hires you to come in and hang up some pictures or put together a shelf or whatever, a couple hours here or there, whatever, that's fine. But if you're looking at a multiple day project, overestimate the time, because one, it'll make you look good. You under promise and over deliver every single time. I always estimate high. If I think it's going to cost them $2,000, I say it's going to be $2,500. I give them a bill for
Sure.
$2,150, and
Everybody's
ecstatic.
happy. Yep.
Exactly. And that's repeat customers. That's probably the biggest one. Under promise and over deliver every single time. Show up on time when you're going to be there, and do the job right.
That's one of my core values, core mottos is over promise or under promise, over deliver. Wow. Screwed that one up. We do it with the elephant all the time. If I think it's going to take me 3 months to get your website done, I'm telling you 4. And then when I get it done in 3 months, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. You're happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. Away we go. So that's really good advice, man. That's really good advice. Well, hey, I appreciate your time this morning. Good luck on the ice house. That sounds terrible. I'm cold and it's only 50 degrees here. So that sounds terrible to me, but good luck with that. And I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. Thanks.